In conversation with AJ Abdon, a passionate storyteller, AJ has a background in digital marketing, content creation, and creative writing coaching, helping aspiring writers on their craft through engaging lessons and personalized guidance. When not writing, it can be found hosting live writing and productivity streams on Twitch, sharing insights into his creative process while working on the next book in the series. Or he can be found playing games, offering comical reactions and content for viewers. A lifelong lover of mythology, science fiction, and epic adventure, he thrives on crafting a massive world and unforgettable characters. Foiled by caffeine and an unstoppable drive to tell stories, AJ is just getting started. And on today's episode of Auto Interview, it's my utmost pleasure, joy, and excitement to have on the show today AJ Abdon. How are you doing today, AJ? Lovely to meet you.
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. Thank you very much for having me on. I'm grateful to be here. Again,
Absolutely.
this is my very first interview, and I
Oh,
love it. I love it. This is a great opportunity for me. I'm
yeah.
really thankful. Thank you for having me here.
You're welcome. I can feel excitement, and I must say that I love your bio, especially the last word in there. AJ is just getting started. I love that so much. Thank you for coming on. Really, quite beautiful. We are here.
No, no, thank you. The honor's all mine.
Yeah. So, Age, I need to first say that I found the description page of your book, The Last Guardian of Atlantics on Amazon, to be quite pulling, quite captivating, quite amazing, and quite lovely. And it got me, the description of it actually got me curious as to what led you to start this book, what inspired the making of the book. When exactly did you realize that you wanted to write a book and tell a story? Could you tell us about the foundation to the making of the book? That'd be nice.
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you very much. So the inspiration that that made me write this book came well, it's two sources really.
Mm,
One of them when I was as a child, and I think a lot of young guys have this kind of dream where you wanted to be that superhero type of a dream where you
yeah.
wear that cape and you're running around in your backyard and you believe you're Superman.
Yeah.
So even today, like even to this day, and I'm a really grown man, I'm old. I know I still dream about being that superhero and saving the day, right? So
Mm,
that was the base premise of this book is having that hero's journey. And I'm
mm,
assuming we're going to be discussing that later on
yeah.
about the themes and topics. And then the other source was really mainly I wanted to cross off an item on my bucket list.
Oh.
There's a lot of things that I have that I really want to, do in my life,
Mm,
especially when it comes to the arts. So one of them was just recently, actually, I was doing like YouTube videos myself,
interesting.
like sort of music videos and editing vlogs and stuff like
Mm,
that. And I thought, you know what? Let's try my hand on writing.
wow.
Let's do something there. And since I had that, daydream about being a superhero, and of course, Atlantis was one of the fascinations that I had, one of the interests I had. I said,
Mm,
you know what? Let's put it together and see what we could do. Let's, put it down as a goal, a life goal, a bucket list
mm,
item, and do it. And thankfully, here I am, having written one book. It is a trilogy, so
oh,
part one is done, and then currently writing book two, uh,
wow.
called the Last Princesses of Atlantis, and we'll see how that
Mm,
goes. And then I haven't really titled the last book, but we'll see. We're not there yet. It's gonna take probably another a year or so. We'll see how that goes. But
wow.
yeah, that's the inspiration for it. I really wanted to look back when I'm older,
Mm, yeah.
and say, you know what, I did that. I took the risk. I took the chance, and I'm
Yeah.
happy with it. Regardless if it becomes a New York Times bestseller, I hope I hope that it does, but we'll see. We'll see how it is.
Absolutely. That's quite amazing. I must say you've got a lovely, quite beautiful and quite fun start with becoming a writer. I love the storyline, the background, the little snippet
Mm,
was the making of it. That sounds to me to be quite
thank you,
amazing, really, and quite lovely. Now I wanted
thank
to
you. Yeah.
ask you, AJ, because your protagonist, Noah Stevenson, is a university student. I wanted to ask
Mhm.
you too. I'm very curious. I don't know how this is really true too. I don't know what level of this question is to the truthiness of it, yeah. But I
Yeah.
want to ask you about Noah Stevenson being a university student. How much of his character reflects your own experiences or thought, even anyway? I don't know.
Ye- So yeah, because I'm so new to writing,
Yeah.
to creative writing, I figured, you know what, if I'm gonna write a character, I might as well base it on some of my personality traits
Oh.
and my experiences. So it was really easy
Oh.
to do that. Now, externally of what happened to Noah and his past.
Yeah.
Luckily, I haven't experienced that. It is an unfortunate. I don't want to give too much away to the story,
Mm.
but Noah does suffer a tragic and traumatic past.
Mm.
But my I haven't suffered any of that, so much of that is fictitious.
Oh.
But funny thing is, when I was first writing the draft, I didn't know what name to put for Noah, so I just used my name. So it was actually AJ
Oh.
Stevenson for now as a
Interesting.
placeholder. But Noah has a lot of my quirkiness. He is upbeat to a certain extent, right? A lot of his emotions is bottled within himself. When you're a 21-year-old and you're trying to
Yeah.
navigate the
Yeah.
world, like yeah, as
Very
a guy,
true.
right, you don't know what to do, or
Yeah.
you don't know your ambitions yet. You're trying to experience a
Yeah.
lot, and
Absolutely.
that was me, right? I was sort of in a sense lost, and, no ambitions and all, shy and timid guy, right?
Mm.
Trying to find his way and make his mark in the world.
Mm.
And so that's where I drew a lot of my experience in from.
Wow.
And in fact, I also use the same university and the descriptions of the university that Noah goes to, which is
Interesting.
Concordia University of Montreal, and I put that in the
Oh.
book because it was just so easy to draw
Wow.
there. Uh, so yeah, much of the personality and the hardships that I went through
Mm.
is reflected into Noah. Just because it was just simpler,
Mm.
really, to instead of trying to draw a brand new character and
Right.
depict a whole new character, it was easy just
Yeah.
to nitpick all the experience that I did and then put it on the page.
I
So
think it's
it was really good. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's even much easier to do that in that way, in terms of even storytelling, to pick up on what already exists, rather than creating a
Oh
brand
yeah.
new character with a brand new feature, a brand new trait, a brand new characteristics, a brand new experiences. I'm gonna take a much
Right.
longer route quite beautifully. And I must say that I love your description of Noah Stevenson, really. Sounds to me to be quite amazing and quite fun. It sounds like a lovely characterization, one that
Thank you.
makes the book to be quite pulling in itself. Now, I want us to diversify a little bit. Let's go into the subject of themes and subject lines that would be reader would find picking up your book. If in any way you can tell us about some of the themes, say this theme was explored in the book either through the characterization or through the plot twist or to the storytelling techniques, or in any way incorporated in the book, this theme was there. Could you tell us about some of the things you touch on in there? That'll be fine if possible.
Yes, of course. So the main core and main theme, where all other themes are stemmed from, was the hero's journey. Basically, I wanted to write a book that is just a classic hero's journey, where the hero starts off as, yes, being shy and timid, not knowing what he wants to
Yeah,
do in the world, and then all of a sudden gets thrusted into trying and becoming a brave and confident and
I see.
really strong-willed a person by the end of the book, right? I wanted to see that character growth.
Mm,
So yes, you got the hero's journey, and then of course you got overcoming one's fears. Then you
yeah.
got overcoming your past,
Mm,
conquering obstacles. So these are like a lot of the themes there.
mm,
There's also enduring friendships that comes
mm,
along when you're interacting with a lot of the side characters, such as Noah's childhood character Claire. She becomes a sort of a guiding post and for Noah to lean on, and she's one of
mm,
the strong female characters there. Um, I tried to steer away from a lot of because this is a young adult and a new adult novel. It's just been between there.
yeah.
I try to stay away from like a lot of the tropes nowadays that are within the young adult genre that you hear.
Yeah.
So tropes would be like, enemies to lovers, or
Mm,
let's see, like close proximity or anything like that. Or so
mm,
at least the closest trope that I could see that I tried to put in was childhood friends to relationships, not lovers, but
interesting.
to a blossoming relationship.
Mm,
But I really wrote this book to show and resonate with the readers so that they could like learn to overcome their fears and overcome their obstacles, because everybody goes through
yeah,
that through life, especially as a young 21-year-old. You're gonna
yeah,
make mistakes,
yeah,
you're gonna fail, you're gonna falter. But I wanted to show that, regardless of your situation, as long as
yeah.
you pick yourself up,
Mm,
and keep going and keep taking that action, that you could endure and persist and really be resilient when it comes to
mm,
obstacles. So the biggest one is, yes, the hero's journey. Then everything else falls into place under that, and
mm.
what the hero encounters throughout the story, and that is overcoming fears and overcoming obstacles,
That's
and
quite
of course being the
unusual.
hero.
Yeah.
So
Very
yeah,
important as well. We need to all be an hero in life. Yeah. Leave an
exactly.
indelible mark in the sand of
Yeah,
time. Quite amazing. I must say I love
yeah.
your description and answers to this question. And from that, it
Thank you.
got me wondering actually, what's the age bracket of the kind of audience you have in mind for this book? I know you've got a story of a university student in there, and you've mentioned 21 years, etc., something of that nature. But then could you
Mhm.
tell us about the age range that you tend to preach to, tend to market this book to? What kind of age range do you think would engage much better with a story and book?
So it would like I marketed towards young adult. It's more leaning towards young adult, but there
Mhm.
are new adult like nuances to the novel, and much of the new adult is because it's really hefty on action. If you ever read, say, Clive Cussler's Atlantis Found, he's an old author, but he's very into the action. Or Dan Brown's Angels and Demons and the Da Vinci
Hmm.
Code,
Heard
right? There's
about
a lot
that.
of there's a very good book, right?
Yeah.
Uh, so it does cross over to the new adult,
18
but the
plus, any
young
adult content?
any adult content?
Yeah.
Oh no, well,
Okay.
nothing too explicit, but it's more nothing to explicit nature.
Yeah.
It's definitely your go to classic
Hmm.
action sci-fi action adventure book,
Interesting.
which it's actually a globe trotting book, so they have to
Oh.
find these artifacts known as the arcs, which contain the
Hmm.
powers of a guardian, and so they
Yeah.
go to ancient sites around the world. So
Hmm.
it's almost like Indiana Jones, like you're watching a movie like
Oh,
Indiana Jones, Lara
yeah.
Croft type of thing. And so,
Interesting.
yeah, so it's geared because it's university students. I figured, it's geared towards young adults, but it's also at the bridge, the border towards
Hmm.
young new adults. So it's right in there. But I wrote the book so that
Any age,
any
yeah.
age could enjoy it. There's no explicit
Absolutely.
scenes, not a lot of like swear words or anything. Nothing too fantastical out there. Nothing that you might want to steer away from. No, no, no.
Not
It's
shy
a
away
good book.
from. Quite
Exactly.
beautiful.
Yeah.
I love your take on that, really. And I like you to raise the book once again to the camera, just so we can see what it looks like. And I
Yes.
remember while raising it initially, there's some characters in front of it. Would you like to talk about the making of the cover? And if possible, tell us about those 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I can count in there. If are they characters?
Yes.
How do they relate to the story, even anyway? Not giving too much away, actually, though.
Oh yeah. They are all like the well. Obviously, you got Noah up here, and you got the main
Yeah,
characters. So
okay.
we'll start with how the book cover was made.
Yeah,
Uh, so when I was going through the journey of self publishing and trying to do everything myself, because
yeah,
that's how self publishing is all about. Um, I really really wanted to hire a book cover artist
yeah,
and have it all drawn up for me, but book cover artists are very very expensive to
yeah.
hire, right? Um, and rightfully so, right? You're paying for their time, you're paying for their skill, you're paying
Absolutely.
for
Yeah.
the art. But of course, as the starving artist that I am as well, I couldn't really afford that.
Challenging.
So
Yeah,
yeah, it's very challenging, right? So actually, the characters themselves are yeah. I know this is faux pas, but they are AI. but they're
Oh,
done on Canva. And
oh,
what I like about Canva is that their AI generation image algorithm was drawn on people that opted into using their LLM, not LLM, sorry, their algorithms to train upon. So it wasn't
okay,
like stolen or anything like that. They even
okay.
paid their artists to train their
Oh,
AI. So it was everything's like ethical or ethically sourced per se, if you want to put it that way.
mm, mm,
So I did it on Canva because I was afraid of the whole AI thing and book
yeah,
cover and stolen art stuff like that.
yeah.
But as a footnote, I would like to say that later I would definitely love to hire. I'm saving up to hire a book cover artist. There's some that I've seen, and I really wanted to do that. So who knows? Maybe this cover might change in
Mm,
the future, and you
along
could
the
actually do
way,
that as a self-published artist. So,
yeah.
um, so the characters are all done on Canva, especially the arc here. If you can see, oh, sorry, there you go. But
Okay.
everything else, I actually edited on Photoshop. So
Oh,
I'm pretty versed in Photoshop. I do like wallpapers and stuff like that.
interesting.
And so just the characters were done on Canva, and I just put and edited everything else into Photoshop. The
Mm,
stars in the background, the light rays, the sparkles and everything,
wow.
cutting out all the characters and putting them. As you can see, I edited the book cover as if it was a movie poster. If
Oh,
you ever see
wow.
the Marvel movie posters out there or the movie posters out there, it looks like a movie poster. So that's what I did it. Again, the
Interesting.
text, the fonts, everything from Photoshop. So now the characters you could see right at the front here, we got
Mm,
Noah Stevenson. Right here we got, well, I guess I'll say her name is Nana, and she's one of
mm,
the enigmatic and mysterious
wow.
women you'll encounter. Right over here, this big guy, his name is Captain Cliff
Oh,
Redmond, the big red dog Redmond,
wow.
who is in fact based off of an actual Navy SEAL called Jason
Oh,
Redmond.
oh,
So I
wow.
used him uh, as yeah inspiration for him.
Wow.
We got the Colonel Joseph Ruger, who is
Mm,
the commanding officer of Captain Cliff Redmond. And right at the bottom over here, we got Dr. Adam Gordon, who is an archaeologist, one of the famous
mm,
mainstream archaeologists in the book.
wow.
Of course, with every sci-fi action adventure novel, you need an archaeologist, I guess.
Oh,
So he's right in there.
I, l-
So those are the characters.
I love your extensive answer on that.
Thank
Quite
you.
beautiful and quite amazing, quite deep even on itself. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank you
very
for
much.
sharing. And AJ, there is a lot of mythology and mystery woven into the plot in your book. I wanted to ask you, did you grow up fascinated by Atlantis and the Anunnaki, or was that just something you discovered while writing along the line?
Yes. So Atlantis actually stemmed from, uh, if I say this, I got this from watching the Disney movie Atlantis back in like the early
Oh,
2000s. I was like 16 at the time.
wow.
And then I was like, oh my God, I didn't know Atlantis is a real place. I thought it was just all made up. And then I think my dad told me that. And he said, it was real, it's a real thing. And then I read up on Atlantis, coming from
Interesting.
Plato's plays called the Timaeus and the Critias,
Mm.
and that's when I got really into
Wow.
deep diving into Atlantis and the mythology, right?
Yeah.
That tens of thousands of years ago that disappeared under in one night of disaster,
Yeah.
right? So that really, yeah, it really fascinated me. The Anunnaki side of it actually
Yeah.
came relatively recently, around yeah, I think it was like 3.5, 4 years ago. And I remember that just because it was just before
Mm.
COVID. And
Oh, wow.
I was bored one day and I started watching ancient civilization
Oh.
documentaries on YouTube. And then
Oh.
this documentary came on tying the gods, ancient Sumerian gods known as Anunnaki, and they
Mm.
tied that towards Atlantis. And that's when my mind kind of blown. And I thought, whoa,
Wow.
this is so interesting. And, the evidence of the Anunnaki and the mythology behind it, with it, the
Mm.
connection with Atlantis. And I thought, wow, this would be a great story to tell. Now, at the
Mm.
time, I didn't write the story; it was just in my head, and I thought that was
Wow.
so fascinating. But
Wow.
just last year, I thought, you know what? Let's just write a book about it. That's a cool story to have, and just
Absolutely.
put it all together. But yes, it's been a long time since I've really been
Interesting.
fascinated with ancient civilizations like Atlantis. Yeah.
Wow. I love your take on that. I mean, I've been enjoying your answers to this question so far, really.
Thank
And I
you.
can go on and on and on and on and on with it. It's been so fun, quite amazing. And even your excitement
Thank you.
talking about your book, I can feel the raw passion from your heart in it.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank
and
you
I
very
think this is one of
much.
the things I love about writers, about talking about your book. There's this joy that comes from your heart while talking about because it's so precious to you. It's
It
your
is.
artwork. It's your
It
piece
is.
like a baby that you
It
nurture
is.
so gently your hand and take very, very careful of. Quite fragile one. You don't want it to eat its head towards the iron. Quite beautiful. I love your take on that.
Thank you. These are
Now,
good questions. I
because
love these. Thank you.
absolutely. Now, like us to diversify, to delve a little bit quite, different from what we've been doing so far. I would like us to talk about readers' feedback. Because one of the
Hmm.
things that I love, even as myself as a writer, is the sense of sitting back folding my hands, grabbing a cup of coffee, and listening to readers' feedback. And you want to agree with me that one of the things that makes literature to be quite complex is the fact that it can be interpreted in different ways by different readers based on their opinions. Some readers might get a message intended by the author, some might be close to getting the message, some might be, say, some kilometers away, several miles away from getting the message, and some people, some readers might hilariously misunderstand the book and interpret it quite upside down. Got you wondering, did you actually read that? You know, as interestingly fun as this sound, I would like to ask you, how would you feel, or how do you feel, or let's say, how would you feel if possible you get to have that in future time, or how do you feel if you've had that in the past, yeah, when readers interpret your works differently that you intended? How does that make you feel as a storyteller? I love your take on that.
Actually, yeah, good question. Thank you. So, uh, I really see it as mainly feedback and feedback to improve my writing.
Mm,
Because, well, actually, for example, during my beta reading phase, there were
yeah.
times when, because there's a sort of love triangle going on between Noah, Claire, and Nana. Not to give too much away, but there
Yeah.
is that sort of nuanced thing going on between them. Um, in my head, I thought I had it written down properly and that the message
Mm,
was clear for
yeah.
the reader. But during the beta reading phase, some of the readers noted that it wasn't very clear, or it was that Noah was leaning towards one sided of the
Mm,
relationship, sorry, the other. And I thought, oh my God, okay, maybe I didn't,
mm,
write this down concretely. So
yeah.
I see it as feedback because it helps me improve my writing so then I could concretely get that message across towards
Yeah.
the reader instead of
Yeah.
leaving it nuanced and vague and leaving it
Yeah.
to interpretation, depending if you do want to leave it up for interpretation. But
Yeah.
say for something like that, I really wanted to be straightforward,
Mm,
so that the reader could get it right away. So I see it as I guess constructive criticism.
mm,
Really, if some reader or readers misinterpret the message, then
mm,
it propels me, it pushes me to do better in my writing.
yeah.
So I rather, yeah, I rather do that. Now, luckily, besides that, there hasn't been any misinterpretation, say in terms of the mythology of the book,
Yeah.
of say the other emotions and the actions of the characters and how they
Mm,
interact with each other. The themes of the book
yeah.
do come across, according to my beta readers and to my editor. It does
Mm.
come across well, so thank God. but but other than that, yeah, I have not encountered anything where it was vague, or well, I mean, besides that, but yeah,
Yeah.
anything else that was in vague. But I see it as something to improve my writing, and I like that. I like to get that feedback, especially the
Yeah.
negative, the negative feedbacks or any negative misinterpretations. I see it as ways for me, tips for me to improve my writing.
Yeah, I love your take on better readers, actually. I
Yeah.
think they play a very crucial role in the making of a book. Because even as an author, if you think you've got everything figured out already, oh, I'm
Yeah.
excited, my book is ready, ready to the
Yep.
public. It's quite beautiful. Everything has been laid down quite beautifully. We are ready to go. Published author is here. And you send it to, say, 100 people. And, 100 people is like vetting the work, looking over it. What the first
Yep.
person might mix, the second person would catch it. The third person will,
Exactly.
before you know what is happening, from the trunk to the front of people, you've gotten a lovely feedback. Your work are getting refined from one viewer to another, from one eye to another, from the third eye to the fourth eye to the fifth to the 10th to the 20th,
Yeah.
on and on and on. You can have a much brighter, much better, much professional, much ready manuscript out there. Quite beautiful, really.
Totally agree.
They can't be underemphasized. Their importance, their role in terms of
Yeah.
book finishing, book publishing is really crucial.
It
Very
is. It
crucial.
is. You need as much data
Yeah,
for your book because if you
absolutely.
just give it to one person and they
Huh?
say, "Oh, it's a good book," you don't really know what's wrong with it.
One
It's
person
okay.
opinion is not always enough.
Yeah, exactly. So I sent it to well, because beta readers, you I had to hire some of the beta readers, and that comes at
Yeah.
at a price on Fiverr. So I hired like six beta readers, and I just put all the data together and see. Okay,
Mm,
one of them was vague characters. Right? They all said some of the characters were a bit big, so I went
mm,
back into my manuscript and edited, made it more specific, made it more alive in
yeah.
the book, and so that helps because you get to see the common mistake amongst all the beta readers will tell you
Mm.
what common mistakes you have. So yes, beta readers are essential to to the editing phase
They are,
of your
yeah.
book. Yeah, very
Absolutely.
much. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, I wanted to go back into the themes of ideas and inspiration. Because, I mean, somebody like you recently showed your book to the camera, and I find it to be a bit quite voluminous, really. And because it always surprised me, you can see it's quite voluminous, actually, beautifully made. Look at the spine in there. I'm always fascinated and surprised by how writers, especially novelists like yourself, would sit down, craft long sentences, and bring words together in a way that sentences come together to make paragraph come together to make pages, and pages come together to make chapters, and chapters coalition come together to make an eventual novel. And this always leaves me thinking about how exactly they got the ideas and inspiration to craft these words, to jump from one chapter to the next, from one plot to another. How did these guys do it? This is quite strange and quite unbelievable of an experience, of a knowledge, of a skill, of a craft, yeah. But then, now, as far as writing is concerned, I wanted to ask you, how do you get the inspirations and ideas to craft your stories? Where did they come from?
Oh, thank you for another good question. So the inspiration really is from pretty much a lot of reading and a lot of
Mm,
consuming. Well, for me personally, it
yeah.
was consuming pop culture, like movies, documentaries, TV shows. So a lot of it was from growing up, just watching it and passing by, and a
Mm,
lot of it else is just reading. Really, just you just
mm,
have to read, and you have to read a
interesting.
lot. So you
Yeah.
that way, I have a whole library of books.
Interesting.
So a lot of it is, yeah, it's just from consuming a lot of creative works
Mm,
within your genre, of course. Now
yeah.
you
Helps.
can read outside of your genre, which is good too, because then you
Yeah.
could nitpick some ideas here and there. And
Yeah.
then what I love about the creative mind is that it all puts it together, right? It takes like the best pieces of everything
Yeah.
and puts it together. So for this book, again, I wrote it like as if I was watching a movie
Oh,
and then
wow.
reading like one of like my best reading the best books I've ever read. Right,
Oh,
one of
wow.
them was being like Dan Brown's Angels and Demons and
Mm.
the Da Vinci Code, right, and some of
Oh.
Clive Cussler's works as well. So I derived a lot of inspiration from them, and
Mm.
then from all the movies that I watched, pop culture movies, indie movies, the
Wow.
action movie like Indiana Jones, Lara Croft, Uncharted, a lot of pop culture movies, right? The indie, really good
Interesting.
cult classics. So, but mainly it's a lot of reading. There was
Mm.
a lot of reading involved, and it's especially like a lot of. I don't have a book here as an example, but
Yeah.
it's a lot of post-it notes with this slotting in the books. Like, oh, that's a good idea. That's a good quote.
Yeah.
Oh, that's and obviously it's not plagiarism or anything, but it's like, oh, I could use that and maybe
Yeah.
make it my own
In your
and
own
just
words,
put it
absolutely.
exactly, put it into action, put it in the scene, and see if that works, right? And
Yeah.
that's what I like about the creativity process because you could
Yeah.
just find inspiration pretty much anywhere. Like
Anywhere.
even on YouTube, the YouTube there's a
Absolutely. Yeah.
huge amount of documentaries like made by people
Absolutely.
like you and me
Yeah.
who has done the research,
Mm.
um, and then just presented it on YouTube. And I looked at
Yeah.
that, especially when it came to deep diving into the history of the Anunnaki and the
Mm.
ancient Sumerian gods. I had no knowledge at all, except YouTube was just like
Yeah.
an open door of knowledge. It was like a library, and I went into
Mm.
that, and that's where I got the inspiration from. But it's mainly a lot of reading. Yeah, that's probably like the advice I would give to
Yeah.
new writers is just do a lot of reading, but also be open to things outside your genre because you never know when an idea might come and spark.
I love
Thank
your
you.
take on that. First of all, reading outside your genre, it's very important and quite helpful. You never know, just like you mentioned, where you can pick the next sort of idea. A
Yeah,
line could spot an idea. I remember talking to an author in the past, and we were like, when I ask people how they get their inspiration, some would say I get inspiration from what I see around me. I get inspiration from what I've been to personally, my life experiences. I've got
yeah, yeah,
inspiration from stories of friends, of family members. I get
yes.
inspiration hilariously sometimes when I go to sleep in the night. The dreams I have when I go to sleep
Oh
are
yeah.
so fascinating. Sometimes they were like, well, I get inspiration even from mere conversation that doesn't belong to me, that I eavesdrop on, that I'm trying to do some gossiping, and I got that, like, oh, I can write something
Trying to
of
do.
it. Hilarious memes, unexpected, unimaginable ways of getting inspiration, and you just want to
Yeah,
think these guys are very weird, very quite uncommon
yeah,
creatures. It's a lovely, lovely pool of source of inspirations. People
yeah,
get inspiration quite differently from one person to another. Some would say I can get inspiration from conversation that I help people involve in, or an action I watched, or a movie, just like you mentioned, or a movie,
yeah,
or from even someone else's story or someone else's book. You're like, oh, I can do much better. I can bring a conversation. I can create a story of this protagonist, of this character. It's
yeah.
amazing, really. I think it's a lovely one.
It
It's it.
really is. Actually, what it just came to me. I forgot to say this, but because I named Noah Stevenson just my name because I didn't know what
Yeah,
to name him in the first place.
yeah,
When I was talking to my friend about the book and the whole mythos of Atlantis and the Anunnaki,
yeah.
he's also interested in ancient civilization and Roman history and
Oh,
Greek whatever, Greek history. He says like, hey, why don't you name your character Noah? And I thought, like, why would I name him Noah? And he said, well, since the book is about finding the arks, name him
oh,
Noah's Ark
oh,
because of by the biblical story of Noah's
yeah.
Ark and how
Oh,
they
no,
built the
yeah,
ship and put the animals in and the great flood. So
yeah.
he knew about that just by passing, and
Interesting.
that was an inspiration for me to change from
Wow,
AJ to Noah because it was just kind of like a little
wow.
wink, a little nudge, and an homage, I guess you would
Mm,
say, towards ancient
interesting.
history. So it was, yeah, I changed it from Noah's Ark. So it's a little play on words, I guess you would
Wow.
say. So as you said, when you're talking with somebody, you don't know when an
You don't
idea may
know?
spark,
Yeah.
and that was it. That
just
was
it
it.
just sprout out. And one of the
Yeah.
most recent conversation I had recently with an author is the fact that she mentioned, well, Peter, sometimes I get inspiration from reading newspaper. I read a
Oh,
story in the newspaper and I can say, oh, I can make a story of that. I can create something out of that. I've had an
it's
experience in a
good.
story and this newspaper is very touching to me. And I feel, oh no, I can work more on the story. It's always amazing and so
That's so
lovely.
good.
So
Again,
lovely.
everywhere. Oh, you can make a story out of everything. Wow.
Everything,
That's
really.
so good.
Thank
Yeah.
you. This is
You
quite
just have to have a
amazing.
creative mind. Yeah.
Creative mind. Creativity is lovely. It's a
It is.
beautiful passion to get oneself involved in. Yeah. Now, just
Uh,
apart from the book we just mentioned, yeah, do you have any other works you've authored or say currently working on?
no, this is the again my debut novel.
Oh,
So it is going to be a trilogy, and I'm working on book two called The Last Princesses of Atlantis. And then the third one will be way later on. But other
mm,
than that, no, this is the only story. As
wow.
for after that, who knows? We'll see if we'll continue the story, or I might jump on to something else. Um, but I think writing might be my thing now. I
Mm,
might write something else. I do have another story in my head that I kind of daydream about. We'll see how that one in the future goes. But for now, it is all about Atlantis, about the Guardians and the princesses and everything else correlated with it. And yeah, we'll
quite
see how book
amazing.
two.
Quite absolutely quite amazing, and especially to know that this is your first interview.
Hmm. Oh yeah, so excited to be here. I love
I
it.
hope that inspire. I hope that inspired the making of another book, so we can come up again and talk about it.
Yes, yes, oh yes. Hit me up, or I'll email you. You email me, and we'll make it happen. And perhaps,
Quite amazing,
hopefully,
really.
per
Quite
perhaps, hopefully, in
amazing.
the next book, we'll do a an in-person interview instead of
Yeah, that would be
Zoom. Yeah,
great.
that'll be really great. That'll be cool. I'll be down for that.
That
Yeah.
would be great. That would really be great. Now, as a published author, what sort of advice would you give other writers who are still struggling with writing and publishing a book? What would you advise people in this category?
Ooh, okay. So the biggest thing is to stay disciplined,
Mm,
and to stay persistent
yeah,
and consistent with writing, because there are times when uh, well, at least what I've dealt with like a lot of imposter syndrome,
syndrome.
where it's like your ego and parts of your mind, like the
Yeah,
fearful, anxious part of you would say,
is it
like,
good
who
enough?
are you to write this book? You're not an
Mm,
author, or you're like, am I worthy? Am I good enough to write this
absolutely.
book? And you as a person has to really just shove that aside and say,
Yeah.
and just take the action and start writing. Um,
Mm,
you'll have to obviously dedicate time to it, but show up. The point of writing is to definitely show up. There is a thing that I learned from a, I forgot the author, but he mentioned something called like the Valley of Despair, or
mm,
they call it the marathon of the middle.
mm,
And what this is basically the when you're writing a book, the middle part of the book of the writing process
yeah.
is like a long, arduous,
Wow.
really slow going part of writing the book. It's
Wow.
like you don't see the end,
Yeah.
even though you're far from the beginning. You don't really see the end, and you don't know where your story is going.
Yeah.
Writing a book is a marathon, and it's not a sprint, right? That's why
It
it's called
is.
marathon of the middle, and you
It is.
have to show up and be consistent daily.
Be
So my advice
consistent.
is to definitely try and stay disciplined. There will be
Yeah.
times when you don't, you get those writer's block and you're really unsure of what to write. That is fine.
Yeah.
Take the time, take your time, but also come back to it. Right? Don't push yourself, but just go look at the your manuscript and
Mm,
say, okay, read through the lines again and see if you could put something down. Even if you
yeah.
put a couple of lines down, that is good. That is still a success, and don't beat
Yeah.
yourself up for it. Right? So a lot of writing the book is just mental. Really, you really have to get past
Yeah.
get past the roadblocks in your head, and
Mm,
there will be there. But if you keep at it, if you persist and endure the marathon in the middle, you're gonna make it out in the end.
mm.
And I
Oh,
mean, like
wow.
writing this book, you see how big this is. When I was just in the
Yeah.
middle of writing this book,
Wow.
it was so hard to just get past that roadblock. But you will do
Mm,
it, and but you just got to keep at it, at least every day, or stick to your schedule. I know
yeah.
a lot of people can't write every day because of their schedules. They have jobs, families to take care
Yeah.
of. Yeah. Um,
Absolutely.
but yeah,
Yeah.
stick to it. Make a schedule, stick to it, be disciplined, but definitely show up. And
Mm.
yeah, you'll get through it. You'll get
Yeah,
through
I
it.
love your take, really. I mean, this is such an amazing,
Thank you.
inspiring advice you've got in there. I love your advice on imposter syndrome, shutting down the impossibility voice. The
Yeah.
silence, the impossible seeming voice, the voice that keeps screaming in your head. Are you sure you're worthy enough? Are you sure you have a good story yet to tell? Are you sure you want to do this? Or just you have to shut it down, focus, and follow the pace. Follow the
Yeah.
pace. Take your time. Do it one step at the other, and get it going. It's gonna get a book eventually out there. Quite amazing and quite beautiful. I'm
Yeah.
hoping that viewers, even including myself, would love to utilize your advice. Thank you so much for
Thank
sharing.
you. No, you're welcome. Thank you. Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
And just in case we have some viewers who are watching this interview and would love to get a copy of your book, on what platform is it available on for purchase?
Yeah, so the book's available on Amazon. You could search The Last Guardians of Atlantis, or you could go on my author website, ajabdon.com, and there'll be
Mm,
links right on the front page that links towards Amazon. You can get the physical paperback copy or a
yeah,
hardcover copy or the ebook as well, and it'll be on
interesting.
there.
And I left a link in the description part of this interview where interested viewers can get a copy of A.J. Abdon book directly on Amazon and Barnes& and Nobles on his website and also on other platforms. I also left a link to his social media pages for possible followings. So thank you so much, Abdon, for accepting the invitation to be featured on P English Literature. I must say, so lovely, quite fun, energetic, animated, quite beautiful having this lovely conversation with you around the last guardian of Atlantis. I must say it's a lovely one and I enjoyed it thoroughly. Thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, no, thank you. I really appreciate it. I'm so grateful. Thank you so much. Really, it's been
Yeah,
an honor. Thank
my
you.
pleasure as well.
Love it.